Hello everyone, I hope everybody is okay. In this video I'm going to discuss about whether a person, especially a woman, should reveal her abusive past to a potential spouse, especially when it is family related. And I'm talking to parents right now. If you're watching this video, I'm not going to use foul language, but perhaps you don't want your child to be exposed to this kind of thematology. So basically, you can pause the video now and get back to it later, because these are some, very difficult issues, and some people do not want their kids to be exposed to this kind of information. Okay, so some of us have been abused, and especially sexually abused in our past, and we're dealing with a lot of pain from that, and it takes a lot of courage to move on. But even if sexual abuse was not a problem, and we have been raised in a very, very unhealthy family, a very unorthodox family, a family where there was a lot of aggression, a lot of physical and mental aggression and abuse. Families where our parents were using substances, for instance, or they went to prison for various illegal activities. You get my point. We're not the average, happy, in inverted commas, clean family. I want to tell you that there isn't such a thing as a clean, happy family. Everybody has skeletons in their closet, but unfortunately some of us have more than others. So if you're dealing with this type of situation and you are being troubled by it, it means that your past is influencing your future. You're suffering from depression or anxiety, or things don't seem to be working, or you don't trust people. You know what the problem is. You need to get help. You really do need to get help. There are some things in life you definitely cannot do them alone. It's not about you not wanting to move on. It's not about you being weak, but you need to be out of the problem in order to help somebody that is in the problem. So we're not talking about a friend here, we're talking about you. And if you're suffering from some of the things that happened to you, betrayal, abuse, things like that, it's very, very difficult for you to move on and heal yourselves. And it's not through lack of trying. It's just that we're caught up in this problem, and it's very, very difficult to see the light at the end of the tunnel. People do not want to discuss about this because it's very, very difficult to be open about it. So I choose to discuss this. Now, whether you are in therapy or not, at some point you will meet a partner. And some of us, especially women, will want to start families. And the one thing that everybody keeps saying is that we should be honest, with our potential spouse or partner. And I agree. We should definitely be honest. However, we really have to use common sense. If If you are already in the process of healing, which means that you have discussed those issues with a trained professional, or even if you read extensively online, you will see that a lot of psychologists and therapists and psychiatrists will tell you that you do not need to be ashamed of your past. Especially if your parents were the ones that abused you. It's not because of you, because you were a kid. It's because they were troubled individuals. And unfortunately, bad things can happen to good people. So they advise you to be open about it and not be ashamed about it. And usually when you're going through trauma therapy, meaning that you're dealing with your grief, there will come a stage where your therapist will tell you that you need to reclaim back your power, which means that you need to not be ashamed and tell your story to certain individuals, because that way you stop hiding. Now, I couldn't agree with that more, but problem is we all tend to share too much, and sometimes we share with the wrong crowd. So this is something that your therapist might not tell you. Okay. If you choose to reveal this type of information to the wrong people, you need to know that you are running a huge risk of rejection. So, yes, you should be open about it, and you should discuss it if you choose to, because it is part of the therapeutical process. Okay, stop hiding. It's not your fault. But if you talk about it to people that do not understand what abuse is, or they've never been exposed to it, or they have been abused themselves and they never told you, or people that are very, very traditional, and this is what I want to talk about. It basically boils down to the culture. Okay. It boils down to the culture and to the individual that you've got in front of you. So if you share, they might support you or try to, but you will definitely not get the results that you're aiming at, which means that a lot of people will freak out. They will definitely freak out. Okay, depending on how abused you've been, they will freak out. So this is, I'm telling you the honest truth here. And I think you should know to save yourselves pain and discomfort. So depending on how much they freak out, this could have a very adverse effect on you. Okay, some people will never want to discuss it again, and some people will downplay your emotions because they won't know how to handle it. They will look at you and they will freeze. You know, you might get reactions like that. If the person is not open-minded, it doesn't matter if they're good people and they've never been exposed to life truths like that. It's like taking a 5-year-old kid, to a horror film. I'm not joking. It's equal to that. They cannot grasp it. They do not understand it. And so they cannot support you the way you need to be supported. Also, depending on the culture, these things could be taboo. I know that in the US, and I definitely know that in Britain, people do discuss things like that. It is a taboo subject, but people do discuss it. I mean, abuse exists. Okay, family abuse exists. In other cultures, this is a taboo subject. In my culture, it is. So when I started sharing my story, I got so much backlash you would never believe. And especially when it comes to partners, you really need to use your common sense. Irrespective of culture, irrespective of country, irrespective of whatever, there are some individuals that are not open-minded. And sadly, people label other people. They put labels on them because that makes them feel safe. So if you talk about your abusive past in great detail, and I mean great detail, to your potential spouse, they will start having questions. And in some cultures, this could even stop them from marrying you. Okay. In the sense that it's going to put a damper on things, and they will start wondering things like, how am I going to marry this person and then have to deal with her crazy family, for instance, especially if mental health problems run in your family. And I know it's very unfortunate, and people are very ignorant, because it doesn't matter if your parents are dealing with mental health issues. Sometimes, it doesn't mean that just because your mom or your dad had problems that you have problems too. It doesn't mean that you are going to be abusive. Okay, but they don't get it. They think of the future and they think, okay, my wife has been molested, or my wife has been seriously, my future wife has been seriously abused. And they worry about what's going to happen, and they worry whether you've got problems yourself, and they worry about your side of the family, and some people can't handle it, and the relationship falls apart. It is very, very sad, and unfortunately it's the truth. And not all of us get really great supportive partners. I would say that if a person cannot handle the truth and who you are, maybe they're not the right person for you. But as I said, depending on the culture, you need to think of other parameters as well. Maybe they're really great people, but they were raised in a culture, in an environment where this is a taboo subject. And they cannot get over certain judgments that they instinctively make. And fear is a really bad companion. So if they're afraid that there's something wrong, you might run into a lot of trouble. So I would advise anybody that is going through that and they want support and they want to be open about their abusive past, you really do not need to get into details. You really do not. If you haven't married the person already, if you don't have kids, you don't need to be specific or explicit and tell them what has happened. Because sometimes they get scared, and even though they want to help you, they don't know how to support you, and they end up hurting you even more. And on some occasions, people run. They're so afraid of this side of life. It has nothing to do with you, but they're so afraid of dealing with that side of life and that side of humanity that they just distance themselves. So, yes, do what your therapist has told you to do, but use your common sense. If you're dealing with a partner that is very traditional, is not very open-minded, and you know this, I think that just to be on the safe side, just use your common sense and go talk to somebody else if you want to talk about things like that in detail. Okay, so you don't end up re-traumatizing yourself, basically, and perhaps spoiling a good relationship that had potential.